What if the smartest people don't disappear because they're arrogant? What if they disappear because they finally notice something about human behavior that they can't unsee? Have you ever caught yourself doing it? You read a message and you don't reply. Not because you're busy, not because you forgot, but because something in you just doesn't want to enter the conversation. Or maybe you used to love being around certain people. Then one day, the same jokes feel empty, the same talk feels repetitive, and you leave the hangout feeling more tired than before. If that sounds familiar, there's a reason. And it's not that intelligent people hate others. It's that at a certain point, their mind starts prioritizing something most people never learn to protect: their attention. In this video, you're going to understand the hidden psychological reasons intelligent people suddenly seem to disappear from everyone's life, and why the final reason isn't sad at all. It's a quiet transformation, and once it happens, your relationships change forever. The first reason intelligent people disappear is simple, but uncomfortable. They start seeing patterns, not vibes, not assumptions, patterns. At first, you live like everyone else does. You take people at face value. You assume effort means care. You assume words mean intention. You assume closeness means loyalty. And then one day, your brain starts connecting dots. You notice the friend who only texts you when they need something. You notice the person who praises you in public but competes with you in private. You notice how certain people act supportive as long as you stay at the same level. You notice the way someone smiles while subtly trying to shrink you. And once you notice it, it doesn't feel like a maybe anymore. It feels obvious. This is one of the strangest parts of growing more intelligent and self-aware. People don't change overnight. Your perception does. And that's when social life starts feeling different, because the more you recognize patterns, the harder it becomes to pretend you don't. So you do the only logical thing. You step back, not to punish anyone, not to make a statement, but because your mind stops letting you call a one-sided connection friendship. And that's the first quiet step toward disappearing. The second reason is the one people rarely talk about. Social interaction becomes mentally expensive. For some people, conversations are just words. For highly intelligent or highly self-aware people, conversations are layers. They're hearing what's being said while also noticing what's being avoided. They're tracking tone shifts. They're reading micro-reactions. They're watching how people treat someone with less power. They're noticing contradictions. And when your brain does that automatically, being social isn't always relaxing. It's processing. That's why intelligent people can walk out of a room full of people and feel strangely drained, like they just ran a mental marathon. Not because they're too good for anyone, but because their awareness doesn't turn off. And over time, something happens that's hard to explain unless you've lived it. Small talk starts feeling like noise, not because it's evil, but because it's constant. And when you've tasted depth, real depth, your mind gets less patient with conversations that never go anywhere. So, intelligent people begin doing something that looks rude from the outside. They start protecting their energy. They say no more often. They respond slower. They keep their circles smaller. And suddenly, people assume they changed. But what really changed is that they stopped spending their best energy on interactions that don't feed their life. The third reason is where it starts to look personal to everyone else. Intelligent people become more selective, and that selection feels like rejection. Because most social circles are built on a simple, unspoken rule: stay accessible, be available, reply fast, show up, keep the vibe, don't complicate things. But intelligent people eventually learn something that changes how they move through the world. Access is not the same as connection. Just because someone can reach you doesn't mean they deserve you. Just because someone wants your attention doesn't mean they value you. And here's the part that stings. A lot of relationships survive on convenience, not care. They work because you're always there. You're always understanding. You're always forgiving. You're always the emotional backup battery for everyone else.
So, when you stop being endlessly accessible, the relationship gets tested. And that's when intelligent people see the truth. Some people don't miss you, they miss what you provided. Your listening, your patience, your reassurance, your solutions. And once you realize that, you don't disappear out of bitterness, you disappear out of clarity, because you finally understand a painful equation. Every yes to the wrong person is a no to your own peace.
The fourth reason is the one that makes intelligent people seem cold. They stop taking things personally, not because they don't feel, but because they finally understand projection. A criticism isn't always a fact. Sometimes it's someone else's insecurity looking for somewhere to land. Someone's sarcasm isn't always humor. Sometimes it's resentment wearing a disguise. Someone's constant need for attention isn't always love. Sometimes it's fear. And when you learn to see that, something changes inside you. You stop arguing with people who are not trying to understand. You stop explaining yourself to people who already decided who you are. You stop chasing closure from people who benefit from confusion. This is where emotional intelligence starts looking like distance, because you don't react the way you used to. You don't defend yourself as much. You don't jump into every conflict. And to emotionally reactive people, that feels insulting. They think, who do you think you are? But the truth is simpler. You just learned that not every invitation deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. Not every battle deserves your time. So you start leaving certain conversations unfinished. And that's when people say you disappeared. But you didn't disappear. You just stopped performing. Now here's the part that most people completely misunderstand. Intelligent people don't fall in love with loneliness. They fall in love with clarity. At first, being alone feels strange because we're trained to believe that being alone means something is wrong, that if you're not constantly surrounded by people, you're missing out. But intelligent people eventually discover a different experience of solitude. Silence starts feeling clean, not empty, clean. It's the first time they can hear their own thoughts without other people's expectations interrupting them. It's the first time they can ask themselves real questions like, do I actually like this life or am I just maintaining it? Do I actually believe these things or did I inherit them? Do these friendships reflect who I am now or who I used to be? And when those questions become louder than the desire to fit in, your life changes. You don't just distance yourself from people, you distance yourself from your old identity. You start reading more, thinking deeper, choosing slower. You stop needing constant validation because you finally build something stronger, self-respect. And that's when the disappearing becomes obvious to everyone else, because you're no longer reachable in the same way. The version of you that tolerated anything for connection is gone. And here's the final reason, the one that changes everything. Intelligent people rarely disappear all at once. They disappear one realization at a time. One day you realize you've been the only one initiating. Another day you realize you feel worse after talking to certain people, not better. Another day you realize you've been shrinking yourself to keep someone comfortable. And slowly, quietly, you start building a life that doesn't require you to betray yourself to belong. From the outside, it looks sudden, like you vanished, like you became distant, like you don't care. But inside, it wasn't sudden at all. It was a decision that grew for months, sometimes years. And this is the truth most people don't want to admit. When you become more intentional, you automatically become more rare, because most people live on autopilot, and intentional people don't. They choose, they evaluate, they protect their time, they protect their mind, they protect their future. So if you've been pulling back lately, don't immediately label it as being antisocial. Ask a better question. Are you isolating out of fear, or are you separating out of self-respect? Because those are not the same thing. And sometimes the people who look like they disappeared aren't lost at all. They're finally aligned. And that's why it feels like you can't reach them anymore. You're trying to reach an older version of them. If this video made you understand people or yourself in a deeper way, subscribe for more psychology videos that reveal the hidden patterns behind human behavior. And I want to ask you something in the comments. Have you ever quietly disappeared from someone's life? And disappear from yours? What do you think the real reason was? Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video.